feature match area right now for round of action. Hello and welcome to coverage of Grand Prix Las Vegas. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe in the booth. I've got Randy Buehler with me, and we are ready to watch Luis Scott-Vargas, who's pulled out a 6-0. I talked to him in between rounds a little while ago. He's not that happy with his deck. Randy's playing against Pablo Villafana, and Pablo's also sitting at 6-0 here, probably a lot happier with his deck than Luis is. Now, you know, Luis and I do a podcast together about Limited, and one thing we said on the podcast was, you don't want to try to play these aggro decks in sealed, right? People will go over the top of you. It's hard to make them work.
Yep.
And here's Luis with red-white aggro. He didn't have a choice. That's what his pool gave him.
Yeah, sometimes that just is the best way to make the pool. I talked to him between rounds as well, and he could have built a 5-color deck, but he could have built a bad 5-color deck.
Yeah, you need that top end. You got to have the incentives to go for it.
In the world where everyone's playing all their bombs and all their removal, you don't want to be the worst version of that deck. You'd rather say, look, all right, shuffle up the aggro deck. Let's see if I can just come in under all your stuff and punish you for gambling on your mana base.
Now, pretty cool here, though. Luis has managed to get to 6-0 with his red-white, and look at the other side of the table here. It looks somewhat similar, and it's black-white from Pablo here. So we're going to have a little bit of a slugfest here, I think. None of this 5-color stuff. We've been seeing a lot of it all day, but not here. Blinding Soul Eaters, the follow-up, you see a couple of Sunspear Shikaris have traded for each other in the graveyards, leaving Luis with one. But the difference, of course, is that Pablo's got a Sickle Slicer on his side and also a Core Duelist, which could easily pick it up. And the combo may be being assembled here. Core Duelist takes to the air, and the double strike is in effect here. That's going to knock Luis down to 16, and he's going to take huge hits of damage if he can't deal with that Core Duelist quickly, because that Sickle Slicer is probably going to block here, then get equipped.
Sounds like a plan.
There's Cathodian.
Interestingly, we've seen both these guys in the feature match area before. We saw Luis with this deck round 4 when he was just coming off his buys, and Pablo is the guy that beat Ben Stark.
Oh, right. Yeah, Ben had some mana issues, and Pablo's deck is very well suited to punishing it. Yeah.
2-color aggro.
All right, so here is Blinding Soul Eater, though, which is a great foil to this whole, I'm going to equip up everything onto one thing. We call that, you know, like a battle cruiser type strategy here. As long as the Blinding Soul Eater can stay on the battlefield, Luis is going to be able to keep the Core Duelist at bay here. And he's even going to crash in there with the Cathodian here. He looks like he's fine trading off for either the Ghostly Changeling or the Germ. And the Ghostly Changeling is going to block and get pumped and fully punished here. Luis is going to burst Lightning it in response with the activated ability on the stack, so it's going to die. He's even got a follow-up play with a Sickle Slicer, and he's going to leave his Blinding Soul Eater up here with no white mana. He could still activate it for 2 life if he wants. And he is, in fact, going to do that. It's going to save him 2 life in the net. Now,
there's the Bitter Blossom.
There's a sweet Bitter Blossom from Pablo Villafana. Now, Pablo, excuse me. The real question here, though, Randy, is it too late, right? You play that thing on turn 2, and it generates this ridiculous advantage. At this point in the game, the middle to late stages, what does it do here?
TBD.
All right, well, we'll hang out here and find out. Here comes Cathodian and Sickle Slicer's Germ battling, and looks like the 2 Germs are going to trade for each other here. And the Cathodian is going to hit the red zone as well. And there is Tarashi's Grasp to just immediately kill it. Just get that thing out of here.
Pablo had 18 life when this turn started. That Bitter Blossom still had time to have a pretty big impact on this game.
Yeah, for sure. Luis is having none of it. The worst it does in this scenario like this is create a never-ending stream of chump blockers to take the Cathodian from hitting for 3 to hitting for 1.
So it's a force field?
Force field, going old school. Oh. I remember the artwork on that old card. It's kind of cool. All right, Ghostly Changeling number 2 hits the battlefield. The first one got sniped by a Burst Lightning, but this one looks like it might stick around. Now, Pablo, interestingly, isn't going to pay any mana here. He's got his Ghostly Changeling up. He can pump it if he wants. And Luis is going to have to survey the scene here.
And it seems like he can serve with the Cathodian and offer a trade. If he serves with the Sunspear, it could get blocked, but then again, he could equip it first and then serve. but then his mana's all tapped.
He could get pretty aggressive with his Soul Eater here if he wants to start clearing the way, but you know that core duelist is so threatening, especially if it picks up the Sickle Slicer. Now this is going to change things significantly, though.
You see Luis tap. It's like, can I equip? Yes. Oh, well, now.
Yeah.
First strike and lifelink make that attack pretty nice.
Yeah, for sure. He's even left up a plains for the Blinding Soul Eater.
What does Luis have in his hand? I think I saw 2 mountains.
I saw a mountain.
At least 1 mountain. I think there's 3 cards.
Okay, so Pablo, it looks like he's going to block the Cathodian and then pump the Changeling. So this time he gets away with it, though, and the trade actually happens. And there's one of those mountains that you mentioned as Luis passes his turn back. He still has his Blinding Soul Eater up to keep that core duelist at bay, though it should be untapped at this point. And it looks like Luis was thinking the same thing as I was saying it. So Pablo, he's down to 2 cards in hand. One of them's a swamp. Looks like Luis got bored. He's watching to see what Owen's up to over there.
I've never seen anybody who can just diagnose a board state as quickly as Luis Scott-Vargas.
Yeah, he's a multitasker like I've never seen as well. He's unbelievable. And it's Puppeteer click for Pablo. Whoa. So a quick browse of Luis's graveyard is going to reveal a Cathodian. And then what was the first? It was a Sunspear Shikari. That's right.
Yeah, so take the Cathodian.
So when Puppeteer click enters the battlefield, he gets to get control of that until his next end step. It's also a 3/2 flyer. It also has Persist.
Yep.
Very good card. Nice rare.
Gorgeous keeps getting locked down.
And there's the Puppeteer click in your lower left. You can take a look at what it does. Kind of cool interaction, too, is if it dies on your opponent's turn, you can read the wording there. And at the beginning of your next end step, you exile it. So you'll actually get a creature back and even get to attack with it.
Creature gains haste anyway.
Yep, no, I mean, you still have it, though.
Oh, yeah,
like an end step happens and you still get to keep it. It's your end step, so it's pretty cool. All right, Shikari's going to hit the red zone here, though, and that is a threat. It is pretty tough, and Pablo's actually going to chump block here.
So he gets the Persist trigger, gets the creature back, just like you were talking about. He'll get to keep that through to his own turn.
But I think Luis has got to be pretty happy about that. I mean,
yeah,
he took care of half of it. The Puppeteer click is generally just a 2-for-1. Like, it just gets you every time. But in this case, you know, it prevented some damage, but Luis didn't have to burn a whole card on it. So he's going to be pretty happy with that, I think. It's pretty important, too, because Pablo now has 2 threats in the air. He can put the Sickle Slicer on the Puppeteer click and still have that core duelist and threaten damage. The problem is he's fallen behind in the race pretty significantly here.
Well, the lifelink from the Sunspear Shikari will do that.
Yeah.
Speaking of,
he just doesn't get to keep it. That's the thing. He can get a hit in with it, which is nice. And Luis is going to make sure that that thing stays at bay. He's willing to take damage in the air here.
Yeah, he's willing to let core duelist hit him once.
Yeah. He would take 6 with an attack here, dropping him down to 15.
Well, Pablo won't get any life.
That's right.
Luis will still be well ahead in the damage race.
Yeah, and Pablo just passes the turn back to Luis.
Wow, duelist on defense.
Yeah, LSV has applied just enough pressure here to Villafana to make him sit back a little bit. Of course, the Sickle Slicer's now fallen off and isn't doing anything on its own over there. Moonlit Strider looking to protect the Shikari from any future removal spells that Pablo can find as well.
Cranial Plating was the draw from
Holy
Luis.
smokes. 1, 2, 3, 4? Whoa.
That is a lot of first strike and a lot of lifelink.
Wow.
Yeah, we're up to 6 power first strike lifelink.
Is it 8?
No, it's 8. Yeah, 6 from just the cranial plating.
Yeah,
so 8.
It's 6 from the plating and the Sickle Slicer, and 8? That's ridiculous.
Winner of this match clinches day 2.
It's a nice start anyway. That's a great point, especially because Luis, you know, he wasn't that happy with this pool.
It's kind of my point.
Yeah, that's a good point.
If you offered him 7-2 after he submitted his deck before he got to play around, he would have taken it in a heartbeat.
You know, it's funny. I wonder if his deck's better than he thinks it is. You know, given that so many people are playing these slow bounce land.
Yeah, I think the aggro decks might be. And There's the scoop.
Wow, there's the scoop. So Luis Scott-Vargas picks up game 1 against Pablo Villafana. Let's jump back and see what Owen Turtenwald's up to on his match. Oh, we've got a judge call back there, but we'll jump in and see what's going on with the board state. Anyway, while they resolve their judge call, we can't hear what's going on. But let's just see what's up here.
Niv Mizzet is up.
Chimeric Mass on 8.
There's a lot going on.
So
on this
that's
board.
a thing.
Guile is on the top of the screen.
This is interesting too because it's Niv Mizzet with narcolepsy,
right?
Which doesn't quite work the way you want. Like you don't die as fast, but you can activate it with the narcolepsy trigger on the stack. Aether Snipe, on the other hand, does just get straight up locked down. Now the Guile, though, that thing's hard to deal with. And a Mole Drifter follow-up. I like what I'm seeing here from Owen.
Yeah, grip full of cards.
Yeah, I think we came in there just in time. Poor Keith Temple. He's kind of rocked there. You know, the Chimeric Mass is sweet, but it's not going to fight with all those blue cards.
These guys are on 1 loss. Owen Turtenwald, number 4 ranked player in the world right now.
Okay. Luis was bragging the other night. He's pretty sure he's cracked the top 70 now.
He has.
So he's crossed that threshold on his way back.
It might be on tiebreakers, but but yes.
I'm not going to tell him that. I don't have the heart.
Keith is from San Diego. Came here just for this event.
Not too far. So Pablo's going to have to reevaluate how this matchup actually plays out, right? He's put himself in a situation where it looked like he was the aggressor. It looked like his deck was built to be the aggressor, and he found himself not the aggressor.
No, you make a great point.
So
I don't know what he does for sideboarding now. Well, he has a Sunlance that he's not playing.
He's not playing a Sunlance?
Not playing his Sunlance.
Wow.
Which against Luis turns out to be prescient.
It actually
it would be terrible
nice.
against Luis's deck.
He could kill a Soul Eater or something like that. Let's take a look at what this red-white equipment deck is all about. It uses double strike and usually equipment to augment these double strike.
It doesn't have to
creatures.
be equipment. It can also use a lot of the giant growth effects, right? Brute Force and even a Goblin War Paint. There's a lot of power-enhancing effects other than the equipment, but the equipment are certainly the most reliable and most consistent way to enhance the power of your double strikers.
Take a look at some of the cards that make up this deck. You see the Dark Steel Axe. That's got to be an important one.
Oh, I heard Luis. He would kill for a Dark Steel Axe in this deck. He's playing bad equipment just because that's what you got to do.
Yeah. Sky Hunter Skirmisher is a key one. You know, this just in, flying's good and limited. It seems to have been really reinforced here this weekend.
It is more good, more better in this format.
It's more better in this format. Yeah. The Bloodshot Trainee is a card that you can use to combo off a little bit. You can see if you can get his power up to 4. It can just tap to do 4 damage to a creature, which can really mow down the board. But if it doesn't, it's pretty unimpressive. It's a 2/3 for 4 mana. It's kind of bad. Core Duelist is similar. You just really don't want to play it unless you know you can get the thing equipped.
Right. Yeah, there's the combo piece of this. I mean, there's Core Duelist, and then there's also the Sunspear Shikari, which we've seen both Luis and Pablo playing. That has this almost combo feel where those cards are only good if you have exactly a piece of equipment to put them on them. The double strikers, I feel like, are the more, I don't know, easy to use part of the deck. The double strikers are all costed where they're reasonable creatures. I mean, the Skirmisher is probably the worst of them, and it's a 3-mana 2/2 flyer.
Yeah, it's so fun.
Left by itself, it's slightly better than a 2/2 flyer, right?
Right.
So, I mean, the double strikers are, I think, just a lot easier. Like, all the enhancements work, and they're more reasonable on their own.
Now, what about protecting your threats? We've seen a few different ways to do that.
I think Apostle's Blessing is great in this deck. Apostle's Blessing is definitely the kind of card that, you know, if you're going to go to all the trouble of building this awesome creature, whether it's something like a Core Duelist with a piece of equipment on it or a double striker with whatever, you need to be able to defend it from your opponent's removal because there is a fair amount of removal floating around this format.
Yeah, most of these creatures are small. Even if you equip them, they still in, you know, some type of burn spell range. And just being able to leave up just the 1 mana for Apostle's Blessing in some spots means that you can get away with it. This is a nice start here from Pablo, though. He's got 1-drop Core Duelist and end step of Luis's turn. He's going to play Raise the Alarm. So 1-drop, 2-drop. That's a lot of pressure already, especially because Luis hasn't done anything yet. Now, if Luis had just had like a Sunspear Shikari or a 2/2 here, he'd be in pretty decent shape. But he could get run over here if he doesn't commit something to the board pretty quickly here. There's 3 damage crashing in as well. And the old 1/2/3 here. Nice. Wow, and it's a nice one, too. 3/1 flyer Dareclaw Imp is This is a huge threat. Now, this is
Oh,
a
the
Hearthstone
Hobgoblin.
Goblin. Yeah, so if this Hearthstone Hobgoblin survives, it's going to help lock down the ground, but Luis is still taking damage in the air, and, you know, a piece of equipment or something can really mess things up, too.
Looks like just the Flyers lining up to attack.
Okay, well, that's a little bit of relief, but this curve is brutal from Pablo.
Oh,
Jeez, and the hits keep coming. Spectral Procession now, too. This was a savage curve here. All right, well, it looks like Luis has his own Spectral Procession, so he's going to fight the good fight
is
here.
Almost stable.
It is close, because that Spectral Procession threatens to block 2 of the spirits, but more
And
importantly, the imp.
Yeah.
So
Pablo's kind of up 1 flyer at this point.
yeah, this was that was a huge play for Scott-Vargas there. That is going to help him really try to stabilize. In these next 2 turns, you can see how intense Luis looks there. That's because he knows that if Pablo has a removal spell or 2, this whole thing could fall apart on him.
Well, he was intense for about 2 seconds.
Yeah,
and then
well.
he's like memorized the board position, thought of everything that could possibly happen, and
Yeah,
decided to turn his attention to Owen's game.
He's thinking of his sign-off podcast. He's just, that's how Luis is. All right, so trades are going to be made here. We just talked about this, Randy.
Luis chose not to trade off the last 2 flyers. He took 2 so that he could preserve 1 flyer for himself.
So he blocked 1 flyer.
He blocked 1 token and the Dagger Claw Imp.
Right, and this is a nice follow-up here for Pablo, because I think this is sort of what Luis's plan is to keep 1 spirit around so that if it gets equipped, he can block the other spirits.
Right, makes sense.
Oh, but he's found a nice answer to it anyway. Skyhunter Skirmisher matches up well against the spirits, at least on their own. And there it is. He's going to pass the turn back to Pablo.
Still chose not to attack with his flyer.
So Luis on the defensive here. Pablo has had a vicious curve this game. He went 1, 2, 3, 3. And the second 3 was a Spectral Procession. Yeah. The first one was 3-1 Flying Dagger Claw Imp. I mean, this has been one of those really scary, aggressive starts. The good news for Luis is that for once in his life, he's not playing the slow 5-color deck when he had the option, and he's actually got enough speed in his deck to counteract this and give himself a shot. Right. Pablo's job here is to try to keep the pressure on as
right.
much
Where
as
does he
possible.
put his equipment is the tricky bit. Do you make Core Duelist awesome? Do you create a flyer that can actually attack through Skirmisher?
I don't hate putting it on a spirit token here at all.
He's going to go spirit token, so he's now got a 3/3 attacker.
This is a threat diversity thing as well. He has a clean attack. Uh-oh, this can't be good.
No!
Smash to smithereens!
Wow.
That's nasty. So Sickle Slicer hits the bin, and the first strike part of the double strike of the Skirmisher is going to take down the spirit. So Luis set that up beautifully. And you know what? It's time to turn creature sideways. Scott-Vargas is attacking with 2 different double strike creatures, one on the ground and one in the air here. No great blocks here for Pablo either. Geez, smash the smithereens.
Lining up a quadruple block on the Hobgoblin? Is that what he's contemplating?
You know, that would do
lose
it.
2 creatures to the first strike damage, but then...
I can't imagine a riskier play, though. One removal spell or pump spell kills your entire team.
And even if it works, you still lose four creatures for the Hobgoblin. So, yeah, he declines. He takes the damage.
I like that play.
That just sets up Bloodthirst. How about a Gorehorn Minotaur?
Yeah, so Gorehorn Minotaurs hits.
Scuttling Death.
Scuttling Death is okay here,
Scuttles
but...
do anything here? There are no spirits to get back. Soul Shift's not doing anything. Spectral Procession somehow, not a spirit.
Makes them, but it's not. Yeah, not a tribal sorcery. Quick update from our other table. We got to pop in and watch Owen Turtenwald for just a moment there. He won his match, so he picked up his second.
We will not be going back.
Yeah, that savage beating that we saw there. So Keith Temple's going to have to pick a loss here against old number 4 in the world, Owen Turtenwald, right now. All right, finally, something dies on Luis's side. So Scuttling Death is going to take care of the Skirmisher here. And more Sickle Slicers all the time here for both of these players. Really, one's in the yard there for Pablo, though. Is it another one? Oh, no, that was another Dagger Claw Imp, wasn't it?
It's going to sign into one as well.
Maybe
Can't cast. Thief of Hope.
Ah, Thief of Hope is what that was off the top. Okay. Still doesn't have anything you can get back with it via Soul Shift, so those are kind of just not doing much here. I'm assuming he doesn't have that many more Spirit cards floating around in his hand there, so the Thief of Hope probably not doing a lot this
I
game.
feel like there is no deck that Luis would have been happy to build that could beat Pablo here.
No
Pablo
kidding.
with that curve would beat every deck Luis.
Yes. I see why Pablo's 6-0.
Yeah.
I mean, his deck has a nasty curve.
But yeah, all the decks Luis would enjoy playing would just lose here.
You know,
And I think Luis
even
is
in
gonna
this
win.
situation, had Pablo had just one piece of removal in the early stages, he probably would have been able to build an insurmountable lead. All right, so it looks like trade Sickle Slicer for Thief of Hope, do a little chump blocking on the Hobgoblin and the Gorehorn Minotaur, and put the Sickle Slicer over on my Spirit after you've dropped to 7, and it feels like Luis is just building an insurmountable lead here. Yeah. Also, one great interaction for Luis Scott-Vargas' side of the table is that Smash the Smithereens has made this core duelist just terrible.
Right.
I mean, it's got in for 1 damage this game, maybe 2.
Just kind of watching the action go by.
Yeah. Yeah, getting rid of the equipment, you know, it's effectively a 2-for-1 as, you know, I think the core duelist's ultimate fate here is going to be a chump block. All right, there's Puppeteer Click, though. That's going to get back the Skirmisher. It's not going to do much here, though. He can't even attack. I mean, he can, but it just dies. I guess he may as well. Sure.
Oh, the fact that it dies gets it back in the graveyard instead of it getting it exiled.
Okay.
So we accomplished a tiny little bit. It'll be there to get back when the Persist trigger comes out.
All right.
None of this helps, though.
I don't think it was the dream he had in mind when he saw
no.
that Puppeteer clip when he was opening up his boosters, but I guess he'll have to take it. Jeez. And there's an Oblivion Ring off the top. And once again, Luis manages to 1-for-1 against the Puppeteer click, which is about the most you can hope for against a powerful card like that. And Pablo, yeah, he's going to be in chump block mode
to a
here.
couple of 1-1s. Not even sure Luis is going to let him block.
This is a Burst Lightning pre-combat. I think
lethal?
that Luis is just going to say, let's just end this game.
Yeah.
Core Duelist dies.
Don't think there's a block that keeps him alive now, is there?
Well, if he blocks the Gorehorn Minotaurs, he takes 4,
7.
5, 6, 7, 8.
He's at 7.
So that's death.
There's no... We're done.
7, excuse me. Yeah, he's just dead either way.
Yeah, that Luis did that math.
Yep, any 2 creatures get in and it's over, and that's going to do it. Pablo Villafana is going to pick up his first loss, but Luis Scott-Vargas stays undefeated. He is now 7-0. With the deck, he said, you know, I'm not really that happy with this thing. Maybe he's getting a little happier with it. So good stuff there from Luis. And again, I can see why Pablo's deck is serving him so well today. I wouldn't be surprised to see him continue on, and we'll see him in day 2. Nice little aggressive deck there. All right, so we've moved over a couple of our players from our back table. We've got Connor Kirk versus Keith Temple here. Both of these players are 6-0.
Connor Kirk versus Jeffrey Harden.
Excuse me, yeah, we've got Keith Temple as the name, but that's actually not his name. Keith is the one that played against Owen.
Yep.
Earlier this round. So this is Jeffrey Harden.
I heard Connor had a really good deck. Oh, he's Affinity. Couple of Darksteel Citadels, 2 Court Homunculus, Mirren Crusader, 2 Hover Guards, the Fairy Mechanist. He's got Arrests, Aethercast Knights, Alloy Mirror, Blinding Soul Eater.
Didn't you
2
draft
Gust
this deck
Simmers,
yesterday?
A Spellskite, a Mirror Enforcer, an Etch Champion.
Whoa.
A Frogmite. And to finish it all off,
What's the big hitter?
what would you want to put at the top of your curve for your aggressive creature affinity deck, blue-white affinity deck?
I'm thinking. Maybe one of the flyers, the blue flyers.
Doesn't fly.
I don't know. Rusted Relic.
You could. No, it's better than that.
Oh, we're thinking bigger.
You could get it signed if you'd won quickly enough. You could get Luis to sign this card. I've certainly seen him sign this card plenty.
What is it?
The Grand Cenobite.
Oh, he's got
Elish Norn sitting
that
on
big
top
of
of
a
the
top?
curve.
Yeah, I was definitely not dreaming big enough. LSV, yeah, all right. Wow, that is a great deck for Connor. That
Yeah, his
sounds
deck looks nuts.
unbelievable.
And he's up a game.
He's up a game and casting Fairy Mechanist and finding spells with it, in this case a Court Homunculus. Blinding Soul Eater for Jeffrey Harden. He's even got a planes down there to activate it with.
He's got like a normal looking sealed deck mana base. I don't know what's going on with this. 7/6/3 in an Evolving Wilds? What format is he playing?
Yeah, he
supposed to play
missed the
5-color
memo.
or 2.
Okay, here's an Algae Gariel, and I think he's going to use a Sunlance here. Yeah, he is. He's just going to get rid of this Mechanist. Oh, he forgot his Algae Gariel to counter, though.
Yeah, it's not good.
He played it first, right? It is sad.
Yeah.
He will be bummed when he realizes that, because those little mistakes can certainly add up, especially when you're playing against a deck that's streamlined like Connor's.
Jeff's deck is pretty good. I mean, it's green-white, sort of tokens-y. He's got Spectral Procession, a couple Scatter the Seeds, a Scion of the Wild, like got your normal green-white, but then he's splashing red for a Banefire and a Burst Lightning. Build looks solid. Celestia Guildmage in there, too. Ooh, and a Wiltleaf Liege.
Okay.
And the red
I'm
splash
convinced.
includes a Savage Twister.
What about Somber Hoverguard?
Without Somber Hoverguard.
Well, there's one on the battlefield now, so.
Yeah, it's Connor paying more than I suspect he normally has to.
Is that a Sundering Vitae in hand for him as well?
He plays one.
Does he play one out of the board? All right. Well, for
Plays
now,
one main deck.
he's got one in the main.
Yeah.
I've heard people saying that that's okay thing to do. It seems correct.
Yeah, concealed.
Yeah, and sealed deck. That's right. Kozilek's Predator here for Jeffrey. So I like the way things are going from Jeffrey's
Speaking
side
of
here.
cards that are good with Algae Gariel,
Spawn token.
Eldrazi Spawn tokens are fun. He's got 2 Algae Gariels in his deck. Look, he's going to attack. Would you like to block and make me sack my Eldrazi Spawn? I think you do, right? Can't you just double block here? A single block loses to sack both my Spawn.
What did he block with?
He blocked with just the Court Homunculus.
Oh no, yeah, that loses to it. He could have single blocked with his Somber Hoverguard though, right?
What is he?
What is
it's
that's
indestructible.
indestructible. Whoa,
It's indestructible.
that lives. Oh.
He wanted to shrink the Court Homunculus down to a 1/1.
Yeah, that's
which
what he
is a
wanted.
clever plot.
I like his line there, but he just forgot that the land Darksteel Citadel's indestructible.
Yep.
I think this is going to be a tough sell. We'll have to see. They've got a judge just to rule what's going to happen with it.
Sundering Vitae resolves and fails.
Yeah, so that's the thing, is that it is a totally legal target.
Yeah.
He can do that. Now, as it turns out, though, this actually isn't that bad. It just costs
forces him to sack the other.
Yeah, the real loss here is the Sundering Vitae.
Agreed.
He just didn't get any value out of it at all. Like you said, I like where he was going with it, but he didn't follow through all the way to double check about the Darksteel Citadel there and its indestructibility, what would happen with the Sundering Vitae. So, again, another small mistake here. These could add up for Jeffrey. We'll see. It looks like he's in decent shape, though, to me.
I mean, he's up on the board. Right? He's got 5 power worth of attackers. Soul Eater locking down Hoverguard. Connor's deck, though, and he's got a grip full of cards.
He's got another Somber
got a deck
Hoverguard
full
in
of
hand,
threats.
too. That wasn't a great turn, though, for Connor. He is going to take some damage here, that's for sure. In hand for Jeffrey.
Kind of a defensive play. He could have tapped out for a second Somber Hoverguard. I don't know if it has anything to do with his blue and 1 mana.
Okay, in for 6. No clean blocks here for Connor. Savage Twister, I believe, is Jeffrey Harden's last card in hand. He might be able to set up a pretty nasty Savage Twister as well. You know, if you can wipe away everything below the Algae Gariel, it'll just grow for every creature that dies. He would need to get another counter on there to do that, but those are the type of plays that you can use as like a finisher, where you can kill everything except for the Gariel. It becomes like a 9/9, and you just hit them once and they die. Remember, it's got Shroud, so there's no spot removal that kills it. So he
Algae Gariel's good.
It's quite good.
It looks, 4 mana 1/1 doesn't exactly pass the vanilla test.
Dismal failure. But it doesn't stay that way for long, and like you mentioned, in combination. Yeah, and exactly, that's a huge deal, because you are going to put a lot of eggs in that particular basket. But in combination with those Eldrazi Spawn, it's quite good.
Soul Eater's going to tap Soul Eater.
Yeah, so this is going to be a Soul Eater fight, and this basically just negates the other Soul Eater. Like, Connor can tap something, but it just won't do anything.
Is he setting up
anyway.
Savage Twister for 2? remove both your blockers, go to my Gariel, and attack for 3, 4, 7, 9.
I'm somewhat in love with that play. I think that's a great play. I think he should do that.
Savage Twister for 3 is rough because you have a pair of 3 toughness creatures. All you get is 1 Soul Eater. But Savage Twister for 2 seems great on this board.
Yeah, I mean, Savage Twister for 3 just wipes the board. But you're advantaged. He's currently advantaged, so.
Yeah, I like Twister for 2 a lot.
I like
here.
Twister for 2. I think.
I mean, maybe you leave the Soul Eater on defense just because you don't quite have lethal. Settle for attacking for merely 8 and having an untapped Soul Eater.
Not a lot of ways to get punished for that play either. Right? There's no straight up sweeper in the format outside of, the Savage Twister that he has. He knows his opponent can't have that, and something along the lines of a all is
Yeah,
does.
Connor could have like a Otherworldly Journey would maybe be the best thing he could have in his hand right now.
All right, let's Savage Twist for 2 here, says Jeffrey. This is sweet.
This
Look at
is
this.
A well-named card. Quite savage.
Is there another
Oh,
Worldly
wait, Mana
Journey?
Leak? Mana Leak would be good.
It is!
Oh, Mana Leak
gets him. Oh, man. Now, he had those spawn tokens earlier. He sacked him to make the Gariel bigger. But remember when he had to sack 1 extra?
Yes. I do.
It's been a pretty cool game, I have to say. Perhaps a little rough around the edges, but it's made it really interesting viewing. All right, so that's going to get countered, but that's not going to stop him. He can still tap down the hover guard if you want and just rumble.
I think you just attack with Predator.
And if there's a
Connor
trade, you're
wants
quite
to
happy.
trade, yeah,
right?
exactly. Your job when you have Algae Gariel is to trade.
Yes.
Get creatures involved in combat. Oh, I don't like the no attack. You send your Predator. What are you? Oh, send the Predator. You're not even down power, right? Either you get through for 3, or your Gariel grows to 5/5.
Well, and the other thing to consider here for people watching at home is that there's no ground attackers for Connor.
Right. What is Predator doing on defense?
Right.
Nothing,
It won't do anything anyway, so you should just send it in there. It's a favorable trade for you. Not only trading Predator for the hover guard, that's fine on itself, but you've also got Algae Gariel, so you're going to want to make the trade. Again, we're going to have to see how this works out for Jeffrey. He may have given Connor just enough rope here. And, you don't want to do that. Arrest is the play. I'm sure he's
targeting Soul Eater, I assume.
Target the Soul Eater now. Jeffrey's going to have to respond.
Chooses not to respond.
He chooses not to. Also, it looks like he's made potentially another little error here by tapping both of his planes. Yeah, the card that he could represent here is a. All right, he's got Scatter the Seeds. Okay, I was thinking Vines of Vastwood would be a card he could have because you actually need green for that. But this too, he needs green for this spell too in this case. So, not a mistake. It was how he planned it out. He gets 3 extra Sapperlings here, but he still takes 6.
Yeah. Getting that Savage Twister mana.
So this explains his no attack as well.
Yeah,
right.
You're right.
This was his plan. I think I still like an attack there.
You won't get to scatter.
You wouldn't get to scatter, but I think it's more important to just keep hammering away here.
Right, he's just falling behind in this race now.
Yes, that's the downside to his play. But the upside to Jeffrey's play is that he has developed his board out much wider, and you see him tap the top of his deck. He's clearly got something in mind here too. So let's see if this plan works out for him. He's immediately jumped to attacks. Connor's deciding what to tap down.
Connor taps the Predator, but now the 3/1/1s can attack without dying.
And they do. So here's 6 damage. That's half of Connor Kirk's life total here. And we've got a really close race.
Yeah. It's funny, that last turn, I think if Jeff knew that Connor would block with the hover guard, then he would attack. Like, I'd rather trade Predator for hover guard and grow Algae Gariel than scatter. But if Connor just takes 3, it's actually pretty bad.
Yeah.
So not knowing whether Connor's going to block or not, his scatter plays may be correct.
It definitely has upside. Especially if he has ways to, augment his tokens or use them, down the line here.
Yeah, and with the scatter, Jeffrey is actually ahead in this race.
Absolutely.
Somber Hover Guards are now playing defense. Algae Gariel's been offered as a trade, though.
That's a really
great trade for Connor.
Yeah, Connor's going to be happy to get rid of that Algae Gariel. Let's see if Jeffrey has something to do in combat here to augment this situation. Well, it's actually Connor who's got something to augment this situation here. He's got Apostle's Blessing on the Somber Hover Guard here, which is going to save it from the Gariel. And like I said, Connor's got to be pretty happy to get rid of that Gariel without.
He only loses one token, right?
Yeah, just one.
Yeah, one token died to combat to the other Hover Guard, but
yeah.
2 of them got through for 2 damage.
Yeah, so I'm not sure actually why he put 2 of them in the bin there. All right, looks like the judge is going to fix it. Because remember, the Blinding Soul Eater tapped down the Kozilek's Predator, so that's why that was tapped and tapped. One of them got blocked, and the other 2 got in.
Now the race changes again. Yeah, I don't like that attack very much. Now Connor can actually attack with both his Hover Guards.
You know, it's funny.
Take 2 on the crackback. Attack for the win in the air.
Yep. You know, it's funny. I think if Jeffrey was sitting in Connor's seat, he would have seen it from a different perspective because that Algae Gariel is so scary.
Right.
Once it gets to a certain size, Connor's deck can't profitably block it anymore, and the thing just gets completely out of hand, and he can't target it. It just gets to be such a major issue. And I think there was probably a sigh of relief from Connor that he got away with getting that thing off the table for just a 1-for-1.
7 mana? Anything interesting?
Oh, is
7
this
mana?
Elish Norn? No, it is. Elish Norn has hit the table. That's going to take care of all of those tokens. And it doesn't quite set up the immediate victory. No, it does, right? That's 5, 10,
Attack
11,
with the
12,
Soul Eater.
13, and that's going to do it. Whoa. All right, so Connor Kirk pulls that one out. It ended up being a really interesting game one way or another. But Jeffrey's going to have to try to finish strong. He's at 6-1 now. Connor Kirk improves to 7-0 with, wow, what a great deck. That blue-white deck,
awesome.
that did not look like your typical steel deck. It looked a little more like a draft deck.
Yeah, no, Stibbs told us this was a sweet deck.
Stibbs
He did not lie.
was not lying. He was 100% correct.
Elish Norn.
Look at Elish Norn, Grand Cenobite. So good. You know, I think that just based on power level of cards you can actually cast in this format. So I'm taking Emrakul off the table here, basically, and maybe even the other 2 Eldrazi. I think Elish Norn's the best one.
This is the mythic you're most interested in opening?
This is the mythic I want the most. I want a castable Elish Norn. And the reason is this. I think a lot of people have Karn in that spot, which is, look.
Yeah, Karn's better.
They rumble.
Karn's
I get
gotta
it.
be better.
Card's colorless. But the thing I like about Elish Norn is that if you find yourself behind, like significantly behind to a couple of somber hover guards and a few other things on the ground, you cast Elish Norn, you're not behind anymore. You're either ahead or back to even.
Sure.
If you cast Karn, the best Karn can do is 1-for-1. The best that Karn is when he first comes down is a Vindicate, as we say. It can take out any permanent. Now, that's incredibly strong, and I'm not trying to disrespect Karn here. But I have found myself in positions many times in many formats where my opponent has multiple threats that I have to deal with when I'm really far behind. And I rip that 7th land, and Karn says, okay, I'll kill your best thing, and then they just ignore it and kill me.
Deck is going to look like Connor Kirk's deck, or even just that white's going to be my best color. Then I can agree with you. Like, I think Connor Kirk would rather have Elish Norn than Karn. If you know you're playing white, I think I buy it.
Okay.
But, like, if I haven't seen the rest of my cards yet, I want the colorless card.
Sure. Yeah, look,
right?
colorless is a big draw. If it's the first card you're seeing, yeah, I'd take Karn in the dark.
Yeah, I mean,
but if I can cast Elish Norn, I am in, period.
Yeah, but your odds of playing a deck that includes Elish Norn are only, like, what, 50 or 60%?
Yeah, but they go up to, like, 90 when I see the Elish Norn in my pile.
Well, look, your odds of playing white are 40% before you open your packs.
Sure.
I moved it up. We get the turbo match
so Turbo's going here. Let's take a look at Kyle Skelton versus Alan Lee.
Kyle's the king of the hill, yeah?
Yes, Kyle Skelton is our king of the hill, and he's playing a similar deck to what we just watched here. Check this thing out.
Yeah.
This is some
Man,
serious
when the Affinity deck is good, it is very, very good.
Yeah, Kavu Primarch jumps in front. Jeez. Wow, that was it?
Cranial Plating does some work.
Holy smokes. All right, well, that was game one. Yeah, Cranial Plating still broken after all these years.
Definitely.
Card's fantastic.
It did get the Muldrifter promotion. It was common in the initial set, got moved up to uncommon.
Cranial Plating was
it common? I thought it was common.
I don't know.
Was it uncommon?
I have to look.
I'm trying to remember. thought there was. I know there was a whole cycle of those equipment that you could move.
It was totally common.
Yeah,
in
it was
Fifth
common,
Dawn.
right?
I didn't even know that. I didn't play during Fifth Dawn. I've only seen this card in Cube and in Affinity and Modern. I assumed it was at least an uncommon. Wow. Yeah, well, that's at least that's a good move. We don't want people with
They got the
4 or
Muldrifter
5 of
promotion.
them. Yeah, totally.
Not many cards get promoted. Most
That's the
cards get
highest
pushed
respect
down.
you can give to a card.
No, it's true. I love it.
Yeah.
It's a pretty interesting metric.
Nothing against Scion of the Wilds, which went from the CEO all the way down to the mailroom. But speaking of promotions,
Good cards are
Alan
good.
Lee says, look, I can pick formerly commons as well. Kyle Skelton, no. Just sets up almost an immediate win here. He's got Mirror Entity after he played, okay, Mirror Entity down, but after he played Spectral Procession, which sets up a really nasty turn the next turn. You can play your 5th land, tap out, and attack with 4 5/5s.
Just 20.
Yeah, just 20. All right, and there is
Lodestone Golem.
Lodestone Goal.
Vintage staple.
Cards gets played in the Workshops deck.
Indeed.
The only reason I know this is from VSL, by the way. Still haven't brought myself to play a Workshops deck in Vintage. I've played a few of the others.
You want to know a secret?
What's that?
Neither have I.
Really?
Never run it.
I can't believe that. We need to run some mirrors. You wanna you wanna hate each other? Let's run some mirrors of that. All right, so it looks like here, though, Alan Lee has done a good job of building out his board pretty nicely here. And there's a Sundering Vitae as well that's going to take down the Lodestone Golem. And we've got a slugfest here because that etched monstrosity, that formerly etched monstrosity.
All Sundering Vitaes all the time.
Wow, 2 of them in a row to take out 2 key threats. It's left
Smoke Braider doing work.
Kyle with just the 3 spirits left over.
Remember when Kyle played a Mirror Entity and was about to win the game? Then Muldrifter happened.
Lots of removal here for Alan Lee.
Oh, cranial plating. No artifacts yet. They've all been blown up by the Sundering Vitaes. Does Alan have a 3rd one?
Oh, how about Savage Twister for 1? And we'll go to the 3rd game.
Wow.
Wow. So Kyle Skelton scoops up his permanent, and we're going to get a game 3 on our King of the Hill match here as the players.
It's almost like
Shuffle.
we're getting to, round 7 where the decks at the top of the Swiss are all kind of insane.
Yes.
These
it
guys
does
have
feel
won
like that.
6 matches each.
We've got 2 more rounds to cover after this one's over, and we're going to be calling it a day here from Vegas. And like you said, Randy, we're going to start seeing the real cream of the crop decks rise to the top here.
Decks and/or players.
Truth. All right, so perfect mana here for Alan Lee. He's got his Jundatron all set up. Rampant Growth on turn 2. And only mountains for Kyle Skelton and an Alloy Mirror.
Turn 3 Rootkin.
There's a Rootkin as a 4/4. But that thing's going to threaten with that graft ability to really kind of spread some love around here. Blinding Soul Eater doing a lot of work this weekend so far. Rootkin's going to rumble. No clean blocks there for Kyle, so he's going to take it. Dragon Soul Knight, is that going to pick up a counter? Huh.
Blue,
Scott first,
white,
right?
black, red, green.
Holy smokes, he's already got
Turn
enough mana to
5.
activate that thing?
Wooburg.
Dragon Soul Knight's a 2/2 with first
Wait, is it
strike.
even turn 5? It's turn 4.
Yeah,
Turn 4, he's got all 5 colors.
his turn 4. Dragon Soul Knight, if you pay 1 of each mana, it gets +5/+3, flying and trample, which complement the first strike that it starts off with. It gets a little bit ugly.
Mirror Entity, though. A little scary on the other side.
Okay. Yeah, this is a weird fight. This is not the kind of thing you normally see. You can also leave back your Dragon Soul Knight on defense. The problem, of course, is the Blinding Soul Eater is really threatening in that case.
Yeah, tricky spot. These guys are kind of paused even in turbo mode.
This is a big turning point for this game here. The Blinding Soul Eater really pulling a lot of value here for Kyle Skelton is Alan Lee could take a ton of damage here, right? He could take 15. Tap down your knight, hit you for 15. If he does that, though, he leaves himself wide open to the crackback.
For like, what, 9?
For 7, 8, for a million. Yeah, I mean, and it could even be lethal. That scatter the seeds?
It is.
Okay. And one of them's
token
going to block, and there's a rusted relic. Is it active? It is.
Yes.
This is a sweet game. This is like two totally different ends of the spectrum going at it. And there's Mole Drifter for Alan Lee. Right on time. Go to combat. Sure, tap down your big guy. Post-combat, kill your
mirror entity.
Yeah,
burst
with the
lightning.
burst lightning. That was when he only had 1 mana
Yeah,
available.
no, that
so
was important for Alan.
that was huge. That was really his main avenue to victory here. Now he's going to have to find another way to get through. Is that a lodestone mirror?
Yep. So you can now tap artifacts to give that +1/+1. It starts with trample. So it's pretty big.
It's okay. That includes the Darkseer Citadel, right?
It does.
Okay.
Tribal Flame's your Soul Eater.
That's a big play. Gnarlid Pack, I think he kicked it twice. Yeah. So he's got a 4/4, and it looks like Alan Lee's really building out his board here and going to set up a pretty nasty attack the next turn.
He's whittled away. Everything's Kyle Skelton.
He has, yeah. You know, it's a removal game here, and Alan has it in spades. We have seen him cast Sundering Vitaes, Tribal Flames, Burst Lightnings. He has been just destroying everything that Kyle's put out. All the key permanents, at least.
To the air.
So he just pumped the Dragon Soul Knight and attacked for lethal. We've got a new King of the Hill. Alan Lee,
Yes, we do.
welcome